I want to tell you a little bit about my story. I guess my life really starts about 20 years ago when I woke up. Before then was the dream and now is the reality. About 20 years ago, I had a massive spiritual awakening on a shamanic substance. It was just absolutely huge. I can't imagine anything more fulfilling and complete and done than that. It was profound. I experienced what I can only surmise is a version of death, and watched everything disintegrate and went into infinite light and stayed there for I don't know how long. Time doesn't exist there. And when I came back and the earth just went really quickly around me, it was all new colours, new dimensions, new structures and form that I hadn't seen before, but seemed more real and more familiar than this reality. And sitting there in front of me was a collection of multiple-eyed divine beings who were holding space for me while I sat in this space being completely void of self and ego. And behind the sense of self, when the whole sense of self was gone, what I was left with was this incredible state that I was sitting in, which I now know is all-knowingness. And when you say all-knowingness, it's sort of like, if you look at it through the lens of ego, it's kind of like, oh, he knows everything. But it's actually the complete opposite. I knew nothing. Everything was extracted. Every piece of information, every piece of data, every sense of self, every story, everything gone. And what I was left with was absolute unity consciousness. And pretty profound. And they spoke to me telepathically and said, "Do you have any questions?" What a classic. And I said, "There's no questions, there's no answers, it just is." And I am. And that's what I know to be my truth now. That is the only absolute truth that I can connect with and understand. And they said, "Good." And then there was this sort of telepathic interaction around, somehow you'll have to explain that to people. And that's what your path is now. And what happened for me then was I probably spent the next quite a few years in an undiagnosed psychosis, trying to integrate this experience, which led me into studying a barrage of everything from multiple levels of initiation through various mystery schools, energy healing work, studying quantum physics, metaphysics, going deep on martial arts, mindfulness, embodiment arts, just go there to try and integrate it and to figure out what had happened, And in the process, I became a practitioner and very good at helping others. And then I went and studied neurolinguistics and hypnotherapy and life coaching, and then went into the universe just opened this doorway. Well, actually, so at that point, once I got to there, it was kind of like I was left thinking, well, I need direction to this. I need to give this some sort of purpose of some description. I sat down one day in meditation and I said to the universe, "What is my life's purpose?" And this voice, very clear, distinct, no bullshit voice came through and said, "You are here to awaken divine presence in humanity." And I went, cool. And then the next day I sat down to meditate and I said, "So what is my life's purpose?" And this very clear voice came through and said, "You are here to awaken divine presence in humanity." So the next day I sat down and meditated and said, "So what is my..." And this went on for This went on for 2 months every day, right? Until this, I want to be clear, right? Do you think I've got some stuff around getting shit right? So this voice comes through and says, "It's not that you don't know your purpose." Are you listening to me, folks? It's that you're not following it. It's that you're not stepping into it. So it's a question of when you're going to step into it. You can know your purpose, but that's only a certain level of a certain stage of evolution and development and service, right? Which is the key word here. You can know it, but if you're not following it, then you're not really knowing it, right? If you're not stepping into it. And so I, at that point, realised that a legacy was left in every moment, in every interaction. and that I started either seeking to or looking for how I naturally did awaken that within other people, and what I did that didn't do it, so that I could start to align my life more around it. And windows started opening all over the place. Somehow this guy with tats and a crazy haircut and a nose ring was invited to all of a sudden be a leadership facilitator for ANZ, NAB, city councils. I still am today. I've done 7 programs and now a senior consultant. I've just been signed for another contract with ANZ to go back and coach their senior leaders, right? So leadership is this sort of whole thing that just all of a sudden went, whoop, there you go, that's Bridge Worlds. I followed that. I went and did all sorts of, went and ran a program called Inner Essence that I ran for 2 years, had 200 graduates through that. And everything had this sort of flow to it. I was creating really abundantly, and then what happened was I had a child, and that just threw this massive spanner into everything on an emotional level for me. For some reason, it triggered this whole, I've got to be the provider kind of thing. And it threw me into remodeling my business into a way that was all about business and less about the purpose. Still following purpose, mind you, still very clear mission in it all, 100%. But there was this sort of intentional thing that threw it all out of whack. So what ended up happening was that my business was at the front end, and my spirituality was at the back end. And those who were awake would get the more evolved work, and those who weren't, I would just work with them and do the hard yards, right? And so what started to happen was that I started to hustle really, really, really bad, and went into adrenal fatigue and all sorts of things, right? And really, one day I just woke up and realized, dude, you're a purpose coach. You're assisting people to get on their path to purpose. You're not fucking aligned. What is it that you're not sharing with the world, dude? So I scaled my business back to reclaim about 15 hours in my week. The profitability dial didn't shift at all. How's that? Hilarious. I was working 15 more hours than I needed to, right? Anyone with a kid will tell you that's a big deal. And I started looking for I just started taking on anyone who wanted my work, but everybody got the truth of who and what I am. And I started looking for where I did the best work. And what started to happen was my channel started to open really rapidly. And I started to realize that for years and years and years, many of you have done all sorts of stuff with me before, I've been channeling anyway. And I was denying it, and I wasn't standing in my truth, I wasn't walking my talk, you know? And so I took a brave leap earlier this year. I risked contracts with leaders, and I cut off all my generalist life coaching funnels and all sorts of stuff, and just cut loose of everything that was holding me safe. And the information that started to come through for what the next step in my purpose was huge. Was absolutely huge. And so this is the next level of my work that I'm delivering to you now. And I think what it is that I really want to communicate to you in this is that this process of aligning yourself with your soul, of aligning yourself with your purpose, it's going to be difficult taking those steps along the path. There's going to be challenges, there's going to be safety things that you want to hold on to. That's what makes it hard, that's what makes it so rewarding. But each time you take a step, you're getting closer to the pointy end of your wedge so that you can step deeper into your purpose. And when you do, your genius emerges like nothing ever before.